Good afternoon, and very good afternoon. Welcome to the show. Welcome to VUEGRAPHY. Alright, so Nikon Z6 III announced, and it comes with many of the world first features. So I'm going to just talk briefly about that because internet right now is full with this kind of thing. But I'm just trying to put things a little bit differently about Z6 III. Okay, so I hope you'll get the point. But before I go into the list of the world first, which comes with the package, you know, which you will get, and Z6 III, let me put things a little bit perspective because uh, I have the conclusion that I made is basically based on the category and the price. We have different category of cameras, entry level cameras, mid range cameras, and higher end cameras. Higher end cameras usually have more megapixel and all that. The mid range cameras somewhere around 24 megapixel with decent video functionality. And entry level camera has are usually are having 24 megapixel but not fast enough, slow frames per second like Z5 or a Canon RP or something like that. So we have different categories of camera. So where exactly that Z6 fits? Now Z6 III fits. Now the Z6 III is basically have a part of technology coming from Z8 and Z9, and part of technology that we saw in Nikon ZF. I own ZF, so I know what kind of functionality ZF offers. Flippy, fully articulated screen, X-Speed 7 processor, which is like 10 times uh, with 10 times of X-Speed 6 when it comes to performance. 120 autofocus and auto exposure calculations can be done by the X-Speed 7 uh, X-Speed 7 processor and all that. So basically a lot of you can when it comes to analogy, let me put it this way. You are getting let's say a V8 engine, all right? Usually V8 engine car expensive, V8 engine car in V6 price. Okay, yeah, that sounds something understandable. Okay, so you are not getting V4 engine car cheaper. You are not getting V8. You are getting a V8 engine in the V4 or V6 price bracket car or size. So this is exactly kind of an analogy I can put it, and I'm sure most of your people, guys out there, and also the ladies, respected ladies, you will get the idea. So this is what Z6 III is. When it comes to imaging, the Z6 III basically comes with so much power from the X-Speed 7 processor, which comes with through the Z9 and Z8, and also the ZF. Uh, so basically, the main power of Z6 III is the processor, which is X-Speed 7 processor, the hardware. The hardware is strong, that's why it can do a lot more than Z6 II. Z6 II got 2 X6 processor, but still it was not sufficient enough or to handle all the autofocus calculation and the fancy autofocus things that we have seen in Z9 and Z8. So even Z6 II cannot do that. The thing is, the more the megapixel, the more the camera processor have to work. And so it means that the Z8 and Z9 are having too many megapixel to handle. That X-Speed 7 processor has too much megapixel to handle. So imagine you are having the same processor, Z8, Z9, but with less megapixel. So automatically expect better performance in Z6 III, and this is exactly what you are going to get. I hope I put things into perspective because 24 megapixel is the optimum ceiling where you are getting, when you get higher megapixel, you will get dynamic range or higher performance gets low. When you are having low megapixel, your dynamic range are not, and higher performance get high. So 24 megapixel is the optimum range where you can get the maximum number of megapixel, maximum dynamic range, and maximum high user performance all at the same time. Okay, so that being said, let's dive into the list. I have to put this list noted down because there are so many. Okay, so many things. Very first, I'm not going to put the numbers. I don't know. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, something 16, 15, 15, 16 items which are very new or kind of a world first in the price bracket. Now, before I explain you all that, what in the price bracket I'm talking about is uh, 2,000 to $2,500. All right, so 2,000 to $2,500. That's the price bracket, and in that price bracket, what are the competitors we are talking about? We are talking about Canon R8, all right, 24 megapixel. So all these cameras that I'm going to say are all 24 megapixel. So Canon R8, all right, Panasonic S7, S5 Mark II, all right, Sony S7 IV, which is A7 IV, yeah, which is 33 megapixel, but we are putting into the same 24 megapixel price bracket category because the price is almost the same. It's from 2000 to 2500 US dollars. Okay, so in the same price bracket, that's where we're going to talk. All those features are there. Now there is one camera, Canon R3, which is also 24 megapixel, but its price is way above more than $4,000. So any camera which is above $4,000 is not part of this video conversation. So this video is not about any camera which is above $4,000. We are talking about all the cameras, mirrorless or DSLR, whatever, whose price bracket is from 2,000 to $2,500, and megapixel. Most of them are 24 megapixel. All right, 24 to 30 or whatever. Okay, so let's talk about the world first kind of a thing. World first, the Z6 III have all these features which I'm going to say to you, and all these features are world first, or you won't find all these features in any other camera in the same price bracket, in the same kind of a megapixel category. Okay, world first partial stack CMOS sensor. That's the main highlight. So regardless, high-end camera, mid-tier camera, low entry-level camera, any camera in the world in the mirrorless, Z6 III is the world first partial stack CMOS sensor. Now, what does it mean by partial? Not fully stack, partial stack. Technically, it's kind of a long. I'm gonna write over here. You can read it by pausing this video. You can understand what I what I've put over there. It's basically like the circuitry of the fully stacked sensor is not fully available. The part of the circuitry in order to achieve the faster readout, only half of the work has been done. Okay, I'm just putting things in a very simple way. Fully stacked CMOS sensor have the SD RAM and the analog to digital converter, the pixel, the diode, the photodiodes, everything. They are all stacked together into one chip. You know that Apple M1 silicon chip is just like that. So in Apple M1 silicon, I'm giving you another analogy. In Apple M1 processor, you're getting the main processor, the GPU, the RAM, and the hard drive. No, the SSD, all in a one single piece of board. Like normally in one chip, you're getting the GPU, the CPU, the IOs, and the main processor all embedded into one chip. So and that makes performance significantly faster of M1. Then we have M2, M3, recently announced M4 processor. Same exactly analogy applies into that stack CMOS sensor. You are having the number of pixels, the analog to digital converter, the memory buffer, all in the same silicon wafer. So a part of it was not included in the partial CMOS sensor. Why Nikon choose partial CMOS stack sensor? Why partial stack CMOS sensor? The answer is very simple. To cut the price low and still having a faster readout time, which is less than 10 milliseconds, which is insane. No, almost no rolling shutter effect, nothing, just like Z8, Z9. So basically, if Nikon could have done, they could have eliminated the shutter from the Z6 III. Maybe in Z6 IV in future, you will find no shutter at all. Maybe I'm not sure, but Z6 III is basically having this ability of faster readout, just like Z8 and Z9, in order to give you the higher video specs, which I'm going to mention in a few minutes, and also the 120 frames per second, which I'm going to tell you, but I just said that. So the partial stack CMOS sensor was basically Nikon effort trying to give you the taste of Z8 and Z9 faster, sensor readout at the lower price. Because if they would have put the fully stacked CMOS sensor, then the price gone up. So what's the point? Alright, so partial stack CMOS sensor is basically the optimum answer or the right answer to give you the faster performance at the lower price point. So it's just again it balancing everything. So that's one first partial stack CMOS sensor. The second thing, the brightest EVF. Now the EVF there are two features of EVF which no other camera like A7 IV or Panasonic S5 Mark II or Canon R8 or any 24 megapixel camera can offer. The EVF inside Z6 III, it's so bright that you have to reduce the brightness. It's 4000 nits. It's crazy 4000 nits. And the color gamut that Nikon use is full PCI gamut, like you are seeing the computer screen, literally. Like true color, true life to color, you will get into the EVF. So there are two things about the EVF: the brightness and the true color, true to life colors into the EVF. So that being said, now when I talk about video, no camera, like I said, A7 IV, Panasonic S5 Mark II, and the Canon R8 in full HD, 240 frames per second, the ultra slow motion. No camera offer other than Z6 III, 240 FPS in full HD, 60K, 60 frames per second and 6K. So the raw output of 24 megapixel is 6K. 6K you will get 60 FPS, alright, internal recording. That's too much of data. And Z6 III can handle all that. So internally you can get 6K at 60p. Amazing. Normally you get 6K 24, 25, 30p maximum, but Z6 III is the only one which can gives you 60. Alright. Then 4K at 120p, no camera offer other than Z6 III. 4K at 120. Maximum you will get 100 I believe, or 30 or 60, but not 120. So again, the first in this category. Highest ISO, which is 64,000. The other competitors give you 51,200. Nikon, went a little step ahead of their competitors, gives you 64,000 highest ISO range, native. Pre-release capture up to 1 full second. Now they are Canon R8 uh, that camera has pre-release, but up to half a second. Z6 III gives you 1 full second of pre-buffer, pre-release buffer. So 1 second means the moment you press the shutter, half press the shutter release, the camera start capturing the images and keep it buffer up to 1 full second. If you're trying to capture bird or lightning strike and all that, and you're waiting that lightning strike or bird about to fly or any action going to happen, and you're just waiting for that action to be happen, but you are late because your response is late. We are human. The bird just immediately fly, just waiting for bird to fly to get the right wing angle, but you're not able to get it because you were late. You were late able to, in order to press the shutter release button. That's where 1 full second of buffer is there for you to choose the image from before you press the shutter release button. So before the moment you're going to press the shutter release button, camera already captured all the images up to 1 full second before you press the shutter release button. The Canon R8 gives you half a second. Z6 III gives you 1 full second. Another thing. Alright, here stops of VR. Great. I haven't seen these specs in any other brand. Here stop of VR functionality. Focus point VR. What is focus point VR? Focus point VR means, say, normally IBIS is there, so which moves the whole sensor up and down and all that. The focus point VR is if the focus is somewhere over here, so the VR will move accordingly to that focus point, not based on central. So that's where you get the maximum stability at the corner of the frame, maximum sharpness at the corner of the frame. That's the advantage of having this focus point VR. Now let's talk about the resolution of the EVF. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention earlier. It's 5.7 million dot. The A7 4 is 1 million, 1 point something. Canon got 2 point something. This is 5.7 million EVF, the highest in this price bracket. Auto detect, the autofocus detect range up to -10. Canon R8 goes up to -6.5. This goes to -10. I've used Z9, all right, and I literally put -10. I calculated the exposure up to -10 and camera is still able to lock the focus. I'm talking about Z9. And this camera, Z6 III, carries the same -10 EVF, locking into the EVF. So I was able to lock the focus at -10 EV. That is insane. So that's there in Z6 III. Now, frames per second. Natively in JPEG, 30 frames per second up to 60 frames per second. Full res 24 megapixel JPEG you will get. Full. The Canon R8 is basically the only camera which gives you 40 frames per second in electronic, but raw. In JPEG, no. Even in the mechanical shutter, it's like 6.5 frames per second, or the other brand got 10 frames per second. Mechanical shutter, Z6 III, 14 frames per second. Mechanical. Electronic goes up to 30 frames, 60 frames, full res JPEG, and 120 frames in 10 megapixel. Like in APS-C mode, you'll get to 10 megapixel from 24. And this gives you 120 freaking frames per second. No other brand offers you that. Limitless buffer. Now that thing is subjective, but as per the specs that Nikon release, and they are very sensible when they are saying in their videos, up to 1000 frames. 1000 raw JPEG. I mean, it's like, wow, 1000. Seriously? Which camera you guys know that gives you 1000 frames buffer? I can't remember. And pixel shift. Pixel shift technology. I was in my home country last 2-3 months, and I did a workshop thanks to Nikon Middle East, thanks to Nikon Pakistan, who basically supported me in order to conduct that workshop. And that workshop was all about pixel shift technology, which was the first introduced by Nikon into Nikon ZF, and that also been trickled down to Z8 using the firmware upgrade, and now it's natively there in Z6 III pixel shift. So you will get 96 megapixel image from that 24 megapixel sensor of Z6 III. Which other camera can offer you pixel shift? There is no one. Neither Canon R8, neither not even Panasonic S5 Mark II, and of course the Sony A7 IV. All these cameras, the competitors, they none of them having these specs which I have mentioned so far. They don't offer all these things. So yes, that's true that Nikon Z6 III offers all these new features or improved features or world first of its kind into uh, 2499 US dollar price. There is no other camera. That's why Nikon used outperform. Thank you for watching for this video, and I'll see you guys in the future with some new content. Till then, take care. Bye.